Vladimir Putin's most significant opponent, Alexei Navalny, has died. The 47-year-old was serving 19 years in an Arctic Circle jail for extremism charges. Criticism of his death was immediate and widespread, many pointing the finger at the Kremlin. Diana Magnay begins our coverage.
Alexei Navalny lived and died fighting Vladimir Putin's regime and the corruption at its heart. Banned in 2018 from running in elections, he remained Putin's most powerful political opponent, the one man capable of bringing tens of thousands to the streets, the man Putin famously refused to mention by name.
Navalny is an idea that Russia could be rich, successful and a well-developing country, a country where we would want to live.
He was stubborn, sarcastic and charismatic. His YouTube investigations into Putin and his cronies garnering millions of views and exposing graft of the highest order. But it was in August 2020 that Alexei Navalny became a global name when he was poisoned on board a flight from Siberia. The poison was Novichok, a weapons-grade nerve agent that Russia had used 2 years earlier against the former KGB spy Sergei Skripal in Salisbury. Navalny fell into a coma, and for 3 days his wife Yulia fought for him to be airlifted to Berlin, while doctors in Russia dithered over the diagnosis. Under German care and with his family beside him, Navalny slowly recovered. He blamed Vladimir Putin directly for his poisoning and managed to get one of the Russian security agents involved to admit that he'd placed the poison in Navalny's underpants.
Well, we focused on the inner seams. At least those were the parts we treated.
Western countries imposed sanctions for what they said was another Russian breach of the Chemical Weapons Convention. But President Putin laughed it off.
It doesn't mean he should be poisoned. Who needs him anyway? If someone wanted to, they would have probably finished it.
Once he'd recovered, Navalny stunned the world by announcing that he was returning to Russia.
I realized I'm nearly healthy, and the rest I can cure at home.
Many questioned why, but his life's work was there. For him, there was no other choice. He was immediately arrested, but that did not stop his team from releasing their biggest investigation yet into Putin's palace, a £1 billion residence on Russia's Black Sea coast. A lawyer himself, Alexei Navalny faced an endless succession of fresh charges, but he remained defiant, and he asked the people to stand with him.
I'm asking you not to keep silent, to keep fighting, go out on the street. No one but us can defend us, and we're many, and if we want something, we will get it.
At first, tens of thousands listened, the largest unsanctioned protests in Putin's Russia. But the crackdown was brutal, and once Putin invaded Ukraine, protest of any kind was effectively crushed. Navalny's anti-corruption foundation was forced into exile, and his pleas from prison to resist the Kremlin's war went unheard. In a remote prison colony north of the Arctic Circle, Navalny's health deteriorated. His message of resistance never really landed with most Russians, cowed by 2 decades of Putin's rule. But he did what he could for his people. His death, another colossal stain on the conscience of the Russian state. Diana Magnay, Sky News.
The world has reacted to the death of Alexei Navalny. Russia's opposition leader, who was a fierce critic of Vladimir Putin, was said to be unwell in recent days, according to prison staff. It's understood medical staff were called to the facility, but they were unable to resuscitate the 47-year-old. In response to the news of his death, his wife Yulia appealed to the international community to punish the Putin regime.
I would like Putin, his government, to know that they will be accountable for what they've done to our country, to my family and to my husband. They will be liable for that.
Alexei Navalny's supporters have gathered in Moscow despite being warned against any mass action. Foreign leaders have stopped short of blaming Vladimir Putin's regime for the death, but have issued messages of condemnation.
God bless Alexei Navalny. His courage will not be forgotten, and I'm sure it will not be the only courage we see coming out of Russia in the near term. We don't know exactly what happened, but there is no doubt that the death of Navalny was the consequence of something that Putin and his thugs did.